I've seen it all in this life, my dear. Folks who begged for luck and got disaster instead. People who mocked the invisible world only to come crawling to my porch, sick in body and even sicker in soul. But there's one story that still tightens my chest every time I think about it, because it wasn't about curses, jealousy, or bad energy. It was something deeper, something older, a sorrow born in another lifetime, in another womb. And it all began one humid morning in the middle of a street market in a small village just outside Seville. The market was like always, the scent of fried pastries in the air, sugarcane juice dripping from cups, people shouting over fruit prices. I was there, at my wooden table, with colorful ribbons hanging down and a few sticks of incense slowly burning. It wasn't a day for palm readings, but when the spirits call, a gypsy listens. That's when I saw him, the young man. Tall, strong, but with eyes. The kind of eyes that tell you life has beaten him, and he doesn't even know why. He walked past in a rush, but fate has invisible hands. Our eyes met, and before he could disappear into the crowd, I said, "Sir, would you give me your hand for a moment?" He laughed, mocking, like many have before, but something froze his feet. Maybe it was my voice. Maybe it was the spirit walking beside him. When he held out his hand, a chill ran up my arm, and I saw it, a dim light, and the silent cry trapped between his fingers. "You are marked. Marked by the spirit of a child who never came into this world." And that was just the beginning. He stood frozen, like time itself had stopped between a fruit stall and a bread cart. The smirk faded from his lips. His eyes turned hollow, as if searching for answers buried in his own soul. I grabbed his hand tight, like pulling someone back from the edge of a cliff. "Don't be afraid," I whispered, looking into his eyes. "There is a presence walking beside you, small, unfinished, but full of pain." He pulled his hand away, frightened. "What kind of joke is this, lady?" he asked, voice shaking. "I don't even believe in that stuff." "You don't have to believe," I said. "Just listen and respect, because some spirits don't scream, they groan, and this one's groaning inside your shadow." He backed away, muttered up confused sorry, and vanished into the market. I just took a deep breath and let him go. Not every calling gets answered on the first ring. Sometimes a soul needs to stumble before it asks for help. One night, I lit my candles on the porch, brewed jasmine tea, and sat with my beads. The smell of wet soil came before the rain, and I knew he'd be back. And he did come back. 2 days later, just before dusk, I heard a knock on my door. It was him. Sunken eyes, unshaven, restless like a caged animal. "I need to understand," he said, not even waiting for an invitation. "Since that day, I keep dreaming of a baby crying. At first I thought it was in my head, but now I wake up with a soaked pillow and the room icy cold. Please, tell me, what is this?" I motioned him to sit, poured him some anise water. "Drink and listen." I focused, pulled my cards, took out a sacred stone I only use in cases like this, and I felt it, as if time rewound itself, as if his soul cracked open, revealing other incarnations. "That child doesn't belong to this world," I said. "It comes from a broken time, a pregnancy interrupted, a promise betrayed, and a soul stuck between realms, tied to you by the invisible thread of guilt." He turned pale. "But I've never had a child," he said, eyes lost. "Not in this life," I replied, placing a hand on his shoulder. "But in another, yes. In a past life, you turned your back on a woman and the baby she carried. You denied it was yours, said you didn't want it, And that woman, wounded deep in her soul, ended the path of that life growing inside her. And that child's spirit never forgave. Silence filled the room. Even the ticking clock held its breath. Then he whispered, "I don't know why, but it makes sense." He began to talk. Said he always feared fatherhood. That a girl once told him she was pregnant and he ran. Left town. Later he heard she lost the baby. He never looked back. And since then, nothing in my life works, he admitted. Jobs fail, relationships fall apart. It's like I carry a burden that isn't mine. But now I see. It always was. I stood up, lit 3 candles, 1 white, 1 light blue, 1 violet, each for a realm, body, mind, and spirit. Took out an old cloth doll I use for child healing rituals, and I prayed. Soul that cries, soul that waits, soul that groans, hear the truth. The pain was planted, but can be harvested through forgiveness. Let this man go. He understands. He feels you. He carries your absence even if he forgot your name. A gust blew through the open window. The blue candle nearly died, but held strong. And a single tear rolled from his eye unnoticed. "The child wants justice," I said, hearing my grandmother's voice in mine, "but also peace. And she'll only find it when you do what you didn't before. Give her a name, give her warmth, give her a place in your heart." He left that night a changed man, not healed, but awakened. And he promised me, "I'll plant a tree for her. I'll pray every day. And I'll ask for forgiveness until she forgives me." And so his path to healing began.
After that day, he didn't return to the market, didn't come to my door either. But the wind always carries whispers before the neighbors do. And it was in one of those whispers, while I swept the front walk with eucalyptus branches, that I felt her again, the small soul. Not floating in the astral plane, but trapped here, stuck between the veils of the visible world. That night, as I prayed with my rosary wrapped in my fingers and my palms over the gypsy cross, I felt a pressure in my chest and heard a muffled cry, like the echo of sorrow coming from inside a mirror. It wasn't earthly, it was the lament of a soul. The next day, he came back. He looked pale, thinner, with dark circles around his eyes, eyes of a man who no longer slept in peace. "Something's following me, ma'am," he said, voice trembling. "It's not in my head. The kitchen lights keep flickering at 3 a.m., the TV turns on by itself, and last night I heard a child laughing in the bathroom." I sat on my low porch chair and gestured for him to be quiet. I grabbed my bowl of myrrh and Jerema smoke, only used when the invisible decides to knock hard. "She's not trying to scare you. She wants to be remembered," I said, twirling my prayer beads. He cried, really cried, like a lost child asking for a hug. Beneath that gray sky, the man broke, so the spirit could begin to heal. "I tried following your instructions," he said. "I planted a tree, I prayed, I even wrote her a letter, but it doesn't feel like enough." "It isn't," I replied, looking into his soul, "because you need to do what you never did in any life. Recognize her as part of you. You rejected her. Now you must accept her. Give her voice. Give meaning to the pain you caused." The spirit of a rejected child, especially one denied by their father, often doesn't reincarnate immediately. It lingers, bound to the one who turned it away. It's not punishment, it's karmic law. These souls don't want revenge, they want to be seen, acknowledged, embraced. "But how, ma'am?" he asked, bare soul in his voice. I handed him a white paper, a small plate, a pink candle, a blue ribbon, and a handmade cloth doll. Then I taught him what the women in my lineage passed down, the forgotten child reconciliation ritual. During the waning moon, he had to write a letter to the child, opening his heart, giving her a symbolic name. Light the pink candle beside the doll, symbolizing her presence. Wrap the ribbon around the candle, saying, "You now have a name, a place, and my forgiveness and love." Read the letter aloud firmly. Bury the doll and the letter beneath the tree he planted, returning to the earth what was cut short. I explained he might dream of her during this, might hear crying or feel chills. It was normal, the soul saying, "I hear you." The spiritual door opening to cleanse the pain. "And if she doesn't forgive me?" he asked, fearful. I looked into his eyes and said, "Not every hurt soul seeks vengeance. Sometimes recognition alone heals. The rest, the spirits and time will handle." He left with the instructions, eyes wet, soul quiet. He knew now he had a task, and once a soul accepts its mission, karma starts to unravel. That night, as I blew out the candle on the porch, the scent of lavender filled the air, and far off, I heard the faint laugh of a child, a sign, a good one. She had heard him. The night he chose for the ritual arrived wrapped in eerie silence. No crickets, no wind through the cracks. A night so still it felt like the world itself was holding its breath. The waning moon hung low, time to cut ties, to release, to face the invisible. He told me later he followed each step, sat in front of the young tree, still slender, but with strong roots. He placed the pink candle on a white plate, tied the ribbon. The flame hesitated before igniting, as if time resisted starting. When it lit, a gust swept the yard. The small cloth doll, lovingly crafted, was set beside it. In his hands, the letter shook, not from wind, but from the past he was holding. He took a breath and read, "My child, I don't know your name or your face, but I feel you. And now I know you existed. I ran from you out of fear. I denied you. But now I acknowledge you. I ask your forgiveness with all I am. You are no longer silence. You are part of me." The flame flared. A strange heat spread through him despite the chill of night. His words came with sobs, pauses. Then, kneeling, he dug into the earth, buried the doll and the letter at the tree's roots, made the sign of the cross, and cried, the cry of someone freeing not just a spirit, but himself. That night, the dream came. He stood in a foggy field, white, still, quiet. From the mist emerged a small figure, first a shadow, then a child. Curly hair, brown skin, big sad eyes. She didn't speak, just looked, and her eyes said everything: pain, waiting, grief. He fell to his knees, tried to speak, but no words came, so he opened his arms. The child hesitated, then stepped forward and touched her forehead to his. He woke up with tears and a heart lighter than it had ever been. In the corner of the room, on his nightstand, the candle he had blown out was lit again, and the scent, not wax or incense, but orange blossom, the smell of rebirth. In the days that followed, he slept better. Lights stopped flickering. The TV stayed off. Laughter vanished. Peace settled, and with it, the weight he had carried since youth. "I don't know if she forgave me," he said weeks later, visiting with calm eyes, "but I feel she's finally at rest." "And so are you," I smiled, "because the forgiveness we ask from others begins inside ourselves." The ritual didn't erase the past, but it gave it new meaning. And that's all karma ever asks for, awareness. The child's spirit could now move on, and so could he.
Some folks believe that unborn children's souls go straight to heaven and that's the end of it. But that's not exactly how it works. In the spirit world, everything has timing, purpose, and connection. A soul that begins descending to earth and is stopped prematurely doesn't always know how to return. It lingers, lost, confused, aching from abandonment and rejection. Even more than that, it carries the emotional imprint of its parents' intentions. If the child was wanted, even if not born, that soul rests in peace. But if it was denied, discarded, or forgotten, it cries out in shadows, in dreams, in the energy of the home. That's why so many people feel they carry an invisible burden, a guilt without reason, a sadness they can't explain. Sometimes it's one of those spirits asking to be acknowledged, remembered. It's not punishment, it's spiritual justice. I've seen many stories like his. Women who lost babies and never conceived again. Men who rejected fatherhood and lived a life of being rejected. People who heard children laughing in houses where no children lived. These are signs from the in-between. They call to be healed, honored, and released. But what if it was in a past life? Well, Carmen, how can I even remember? People often ask me. You don't need to remember with your mind. Your soul remembers. Your aura carries the record. And the signs come. Repeated dreams, gut feelings, that persistent emotional emptiness. If you sense a soul walking with you, treat it with care. Make a simple altar. Light a white or pink candle. Give the spirit a name. Write a letter. Ask forgiveness with sincerity. Honor that soul even if you don't know where it came from. No pain is meaningless. No spirit is disposable. What was denied must be welcomed. What was forgotten must be remembered. And if you think this is all superstition, let me leave you with one question. Why is it that some people have everything they need to be happy and still carry a sadness they can't explain? Sometimes it's from a child who never got to be born, but who never stopped existing. That man was never the same again. He didn't become a saint or a sage. He stayed a man with bills to pay, memories to mend, and work to do on himself. But now he carried the lightness of someone who made peace with the invisible. The eyes that once avoided mine now met them with calm. The chest that once tightened now breathed deeply. And his house, which once moaned at night, now rested in silence. He started visiting shelters, volunteering with children in need. He never had a biological child, but he became a spiritual father to many. He told me that every time he smiled at a child, he felt her smiling back. Maybe that's what forgiveness really is. Not forgetting, but transforming. And that's why I always say, my dear, the invisible sees what pride tries to hide. What the mouth denies, the soul screens. And what you don't heal today will follow you tomorrow, this life or the next. This story isn't just his. It's for all of us who've ever rejected, ignored, or silenced part of our journey. A child who never came. A love that never stayed. A mistake we pretended wasn't ours. The invisible never forgets. It waits. And when we're ready, it returns. Not to punish, but to teach. So if you feel a weight, a void, or a cry that doesn't seem to be yours, look within. Light a candle, say a prayer, and talk to the one who might have been listening to you since before you were even born. Not all pain comes from misfortune. Sometimes it's the echo of another lifetime. And as my grandmother used to say, gypsy born under the stars with her feet in the soil, forgotten souls don't disappear. They wait in silence, hoping to be remembered. Spirit of light, soul who never saw the world through open eyes, but who carries within the memory of love. May you now find peace. May you forgive. May you be free. And may you follow your path of light. Receive this recognition, this name, this presence. And wherever you are, know this: you existed. And now you are free.